Hi, most likely you've heard something like this at work. Our company is moving to cloud. It's according to our long-term strategy, it's going to reduce our IT costs, and it's going to help us to create the best customer experience that we are aiming for. Cloud is everywhere, and even if your company isn't using directly the services of cloud providers, it's using other applications which most likely are using cloud anyway. So in any case, your company needs to deal with cloud. In this video, I will explain you what cloud is, its advantages, disadvantages, and how most likely your company is already using it or will be using it in the future. So what is cloud? Cloud itself is absolutely not a new technology. It's just taking several technologies which are already available, putting them together and providing new services. So you can imagine cloud as internet, and then behind it you will find someone else's computers, very powerful servers, data centers which don't belong to you, but you can use them and rent out space. In its simplest form, cloud is just storing your applications data on someone else's computer anywhere in the world. Sometimes you have even no idea unless you clarify it with your provider, and accessing that data and applications whenever you need it over the internet. In fact, most likely you yourself are already using cloud without maybe even thinking about it. The easiest example is your phone. In my case, I have an iPhone, and whenever I take pictures or videos, everything goes into iCloud. And even though I live in Stockholm, my phone is with me in Stockholm, most likely my data is actually not in Stockholm. It might be somewhere in US or China. I have no idea, but I access it whenever I need it over the internet. There are 4 types of cloud. Number 1 is public cloud. It's when the cloud is owned by the cloud provider, but the cloud is used by multiple customers. The best example here is Gmail or Google Drive. Again, you use the services, but at the same time you have no control or no idea where your data is stored. The second type is a private cloud. The example that we can make here is your traditional IT and your data centers on-premise. So depending on the size of your company, it could be just one room in your office or a whole building if you work in a very large company. Your company owns your data center and it is not shared with anyone else outside of firewalls. The next type of cloud is hybrid. It's when you use your private cloud for business critical, highly confidential, strategic information within your company. You keep control of it yourself, you own it, you don't share it with anyone. But at the same time, together with the private cloud, you also use the services of cloud providers. The last type of cloud is called multi-cloud. It's when you use the services of different cloud providers. This type of cloud has an advantage of reducing the risk of vendor lock-in. So now, depending on your need, of course, cloud service providers, they offer 3 main types of cloud computing services. To make it easy to understand, let's compare those services to your traditional IT department. Depending on the size of your company, you either will have just one room or a whole building for data center. In order to have a data center on-premise, your company will need physical location, storage, very powerful computers, the servers, coolers in order to keep those servers working at optimal temperatures, networking, applications, in order to store all the valuable data that you have. And on top of that, your company will need a whole team of skilled IT people in order to keep that data center up and running. So then, depending on your need, the cloud service providers are offering 3 options: IaaS, infrastructure as a service, PaaS, platform as a service, and SaaS, software as a service. The best analogy to understand the differences in cloud computing services is pizza as a service visualization. There are many arguments of its disadvantages. However, for non-technical business people, this graph is very helpful to grasp the idea. Let's start with your company's on-premise data centers, which will be equal to homemade pizza from scratch. You need to make your own pizza dough, toppings, your table to make your pizza, oven to bake it, electricity, and your own ability skill set to cook. So everything is owned by you and prepared only by you. You manage everything and outsource nothing. Then let's look at infrastructure as a service, where you still need to prepare your own dough, your toppings, you need your table to prepare that pizza. However, you could go to your neighbor and then maybe you could rent out the oven and, of course, the electricity of your neighbor to cook your pizza. Platform as a service is like you rent out the whole kitchen of your neighbor, where you just bring your pizza dough and toppings. However, you can rent out the table, the oven, electricity, and cook your pizza again at neighbor's place. Software as a service then is similar when you are dining out. You go to a restaurant, you do nothing, but you outsource everything and then enjoy your pizza at the restaurant. As you can see, the things you outsource in cloud differs depending on the service you choose. The biggest cloud service providers as of today are AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, and Alibaba Cloud. Did you know that AWS can offer you a cloud on track, which is called Snowmobile? The snowmobile is needed when, for example, a company has huge amount of data, and transferring that data into AWS premises would take months or even ages. Another very interesting material I found is how Google ensures its data center security. Did you also know that Microsoft Azure is testing its underwater data center? All links are provided below, so if you have time, I would highly recommend to watch them. The first advantage that usually pops up on the lists is how cloud can reduce IT overhead. According to McKinsey, cloud can reduce up to 20–30% of your IT overhead. However, in some situations, let's say, for example, you're a huge company and you have very many legacy systems that you want to transfer to cloud, then those kind of projects might end up as very costly projects. The second biggest advantage of cloud is scalability without big upfront investments. This is one of the reasons why some startups may succeed. With cloud computing services, startups usually get access to the world-class best latest technologies and superior IT skill set. This helps them to scale their services whenever the demand is there, and therefore startups get the possibility to compete with giant companies who usually have much more resources. With cloud, businesses can expect higher speed and also more frequent releases of features and business requirements, which in the end means shorter times to market. Cloud also enables standardization and automation, and therefore usually the number of IT incidents go down. Business agility and flexibility is also one of the advantages of cloud. The next advantage is reliability and availability. Cloud service providers, through their SLAs, guarantee data backup, quick recovery, and also high performance of their services. Now let's talk about the disadvantages of cloud. Number one, limited control. Because you're using someone else's service remotely and you don't know usually where those servers are located, it might end up as a compliance and legal issue. Depending on the industry you're operating in, you really need to check with your compliance and legal department on the requirements of cloud that you have in your industry. Second disadvantage is dependency on the internet. Because cloud is 100% dependent on the internet, it might end up as a big issue. So in order for your company to be able to use cloud, you really need to ensure high-speed internet. Storing data remotely somewhere in the world and accessing it online might be a very big risk of security breach. Therefore, storing confidential information of your company on cloud can be very risky. And the last disadvantage that I found is the risk of vendor lock-in. Once you start using someone else's cloud, it might be too time-consuming and costly to start using another cloud because of data migration. Therefore, it might be a good idea to use multi-cloud solution so that you will not be dependent on only one cloud service provider. However, the downside of multi-cloud is coordinating all those providers. In order to wrap up the video, I have prepared a checklist for you so you can go through the list and then decide in which situations your company should go on cloud. The first thing you need to do is listing all applications that you have in your company. Then you need to divide them into two different groups. One is strategic applications and another one the operational. For strategic applications where you have business critical information, highly confidential information, it's better if your company keeps them in-house on your private cloud in your on-premise data centers. And the secondary operational applications are the best candidates to move to cloud. And if you remember, you will end up with a hybrid cloud solution. The second thing that you should do is creating a business case. How much does it cost for you to maintain those secondary operational applications, and how much will it cost for you to maintain those applications once they are in cloud? And based on your calculations, is it cheaper then to use cloud? The third question you may ask is, what is your company's long-term strategy? Is maintaining data centers on-premise is a part of that? Do you want to continue keeping your physical location, your storage, your servers, updating, upgrading them, your people, your coolers, all that cost in-house? Or do you want to have access to the latest technologies and then pay for what you use? Especially considering the current situation with COVID-19, where companies are forced to think about new ways of delivering your services to your customers, maybe cloud will enable you to focus rather on that than maintaining your data centers. The last but not least, a very important point, you really need to go and check with your compliance and legal department on the requirements that you have in your industry if you want to use cloud. Checking all the regulations, restrictions and rules which you have in your industry in regards to cloud will save you a lot of time and money. This is what I have prepared on cloud. Hope you got some useful information and see you next time.